If you think you're old, then guess
Yes.
what? You're going to be old and your body's going to be old and things are going to fall apart. But if you are like, I believe in myself, I'm sexy, I'm confident, I'm just going to like live my life, then you're going to be sexy and confident like forever and ever and ever.
Feminine Rebellion, you are in for a fucking ride today. I have Dr. Betsy Greenleaf. She is a trailblazing urogynecologist and menopause expert who helps midlife women reclaim energy, confidence, and pelvic peace. The first woman ever to be board certified in urogynecology. She's a fucking rock star. She's spent 2 decades blending surgical mastery with holistic body, mind, spirit care. She founded the International Pause Institute, Femversity, and the Pelvic Floor Store to put real solutions in women's hands. She is a best-selling author and beloved educator. And word on the street is that she brings a lot of humor and warmth to all of the taboo stuff. So we can talk very openly about hormones, sex, pleasure, leaks, and everything in between. And because this season of our life deserves an anthem, she recently produced a rock album called Menopause Memo. And I just listened and oh my gosh, it is ragey and delicious and fabulous. And you have a voice. I mean, incredible. So, I mean, without further ado, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, welcome to the Feminine Rebellion. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Natty, for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to bring your wisdom, your humor, your realness to the women of the Feminine Rebellion. So let's just start at the top. I mean, I read that you shifted really from conventional medicine to more of an integrative and functional approach with your women. I'd love for you to tell our listeners what made you make that shift in your practice.
Part of it is, entering urogynecology. It's a surgical based specialty. And I will tell you, anybody coming out of medical school, you think you know everything the moment you walk out of medical school, residency. And I found that the more I practiced, I felt like the less I knew. Because I think when you walk out, you're like, I know everything, I've been trained, but you like don't know what you don't know. So all of a sudden it was like patients started coming to me and I didn't really like the tools that I had in my toolbox, which was surgery and medicine. And I actually started becoming the like anti-surgery surgeon. And the hospitals hated that because I worked for hospitals and they just kept on telling me, see more patients, spend less time, do more surgery. And I was like, you know what? Why are we doing surgery on people when they don't necessarily need it? If it's not affecting their quality of life and it's not affecting their lifestyle, why are we doing surgery that has all these risk factors just because their vagina is droopy, like
right.
Basically that was really what was happening is because I was doing surgery on prolapses. So unfortunately, 50% of women will have a droop in their vagina, meaning the ligaments that hold it up or hold the bladder up or hold the rectum up get weaker over time. And it usually starts from injury from childbirth and pregnancy, but it can happen from lifting heavy objects and things start drooping. And so like, unless somebody is like, hey, this is bothering me, whether mentally or physically, why should I be doing surgery? Like I've had women, no joke, sounds scary, but I've had them where their vaginas have turned like inside out and have like a sock and like hanging between their legs. And they're like, It's not bothering me. And I'm like, okay. And they're not getting recurrent urinary tract infections or not having any medical problems. So I'm like, all right, well, just push that stuff back up when it falls out and just deal with it instead of doing all these crazy surgeries. And when I came out, vaginal mesh was really being pushed very heavily. And so we were this was way before we even knew that there were potential problems with that. So I just got to the point where I was like, all right, this isn't working. And then on a total other area is I had a passion for dealing with vaginitis, recurrent vaginal infections, recurrent urinary tract infections, because I myself had, unfortunately, yeast infections from the time I was a teenager,
Mm.
and the medicines weren't fixing it. And so I was like, well, there's got to be another way. And lo and behold, over years and years and years, and kind of serendipity, finding out that it really wasn't the medicines that weren't working. It was the fact that I was eating a really poor diet, which was
Mm.
probably which was high in carbohydrates and sugars, that was
Mm.
probably causing my gut to be overloaded with yeast. And if the gut is overloaded with the yeast, guess what? The anus and the vagina are very close together. And no matter how clean you are, bacteria and yeast can pass back and forth. So I was getting yeast infections because my gut health was off. And so once I kind of put all that together and kind of started eating healthier and did things to heal my gut, yeast infections went away. And so this was something that I was then able to translate for my patients. And I'm like, So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
so interesting. So is that like when I hear people talk about candida, is
Yeah.
that what that is?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so this is so interesting because I've had this experience. I've done like the candida, like kind of getting rid of candida. I've done that whole thing with my functional doctor
Yeah.
because I too, like as a kid, I thought it was because I rode horses. So I was always in chaps and like sweaty down there. And I thought, well, once I stop riding, they'll go away. But again, it was diet, it was my
Yeah.
gut. And
Yeah.
no one tells you this. No one
No,
tells you this.
I think traditional doctors don't really know. And the functional doctors, the integrative doctors have kind of caught on to this. But it's one of those mind blowing things because Hippocrates in 440 BC said, "Let food be thy medicine." And we're like now just going like, "Oh, wait a minute. Maybe he was right."
You're like, close, it's 1800 years later or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it is.
I was gonna say that's better math, and I can't do that math.
That may have been wrong. You said 400 years ago, so
It was
no. So that's
440 BC.
BC.
Yeah,
Okay, so like 2400 years ago. Okay.
yeah,
Wow. Wow. Okay. So
yeah.
you have a rebel spirit. So, to go,
Gets me in trouble.
but that's what happens, right? I mean, we get in
Yeah.
trouble for speaking truth to things, and that's why we have you on the podcast because you're a fucking force. So, you work so much with midlife women. Is it
Yes.
specifically with midlife women right now, or?
Well, interesting enough, the this new practice I have is both men and women because I was working with just women, and then they were like, "Hey, can you help my husbands out, or can you help my boyfriends out?" And then I was
Yeah,
like, "All right." So then we kind of pivoted and helped them out. So now we're just helping everybody out.
good for
So
you.
yeah,
One of the things that you've said, which really resonates with me and with our listeners, is that menopause is a reset button,
yeah.
not a decline. Can you unpack what that really means for women who are, stepping into this next new, brave, amazing chapter of our lives?
Yeah. Menopause is having a moment right now, which is good because we haven't been talking about it. But the problem I'm seeing is how it's being talked about
Mm,
because
yes.
you know what sells? Problem
Drugs.
sell. Yeah,
Yeah.
drugs and problems and bad guys. So somebody's got to make something a bad guy to market it. So right now
Mm,
they're making menopause the bad guy. And then they can sell you things that are going to make you feel better, look better.
fix it.
Yeah, I will say it, fuck better. They will like
Yes.
they are. So that's one of the problems I'm seeing. Like, I'm glad we're talking about it. It needs to be talked about, but it's not all this doom and gloom, which, that's what they're selling out there. But in some ways, people do suffer. People suffered in the past with symptoms and the transition from reproductive state to now this menopause state. But the thing is that like, so now that it's good, we have answers and we're talking about it so people can find relief, but it's not totally all this doom and gloom. It's just a transition. It's kind of like to describe it. It's like you were a caterpillar and now you're in that cocoon. And
Mm,
that butterfly, when that's a crazy transition for a butterfly to go from a caterpillar to a cocoon. Like their whole bodies break down, everything is kind of dissolving and
reorganized.
rearranging and
Yes.
reorganizing. And on the other side, you're a butterfly and you're a butterfly for the rest of your life. And that's kind of like what menopause is. We're just going through a transition. But I also have a lot of women misunderstanding like menopause. Like I'll run into women that are maybe like 70s, 80s, or even like late 60s, and I'll say that, I have a menopause clinic, and their response is, honey, I've already been through that. And I'm like, yes, that the transition part you've been through, but what you are on the other side, you still have all the health conditions and things that you need to know about taking care of your health as a
Mm,
postmenopausal woman. Like it's not like one day you had menopause and like, okay, it's done and now I'm
right.
just me again.
I've
You
checked that
still,
box.
have things with dry vaginas and their
Yeah.
tissue is not as elastic, and fatigue and brain fog. Like those things still continue on. So there's lots of things that can be done about that. So, in Asian cultures, I don't like the word menopause too, because it's like, first of all, meno means the menstrual cycle. It's the bleeding part. So it's like
Mhm.
stoppage of the menstrual period. That's all that word means. The pause is the stop, and the meno is the menstrual cycle. And so I'm like, I've been trying to come up with a new word, and I can't come up with anything. But I really like the Asian cultures. The word that they use for menopause translates into second spring. And I'm like, I
Ooh,
think they have such a
yes.
better handle on it than we do, because
Yes.
that's all it is. It's a, like you're stepping through the door. It's a new life. And you just need to like embrace it and not be stuck in this victimhood of, oh my God,
Thank
I'm
you.
in menopause.
In fact,
So,
like I am so excited about this phase of my life. And this is, what we're trying to, explore within the feminine rebellion is that like this is a reclamation. This is
yes,
like a moment, this is a fucking gift, actually.
yes,
Like
yeah,
we go through this hormonal change and it's wonky and it's weird. But I mean, if you can shift your mindset around it and say, like, well, this is a moment in time when we're going through these hormonal shifts, but like on the other side, for me, feels like freedom,
yeah, oh yeah,
feels like space, feels like freedom. And it's not just like hormonal, right? It's like a shift in my entire life's perspective. And, I've done a little bit of studying on what happens neurobiologically. And it's like we have neural pruning. We have like so much less time and energy for the bullshit that it's like we're just like lionesses, right? We're just like we're here to reclaim things that we actually weren't able to reclaim before.
it's
And
fun. And I find that like, I don't know, there's this kind of this switch that goes off where like, I mean, I didn't watch what I said before, but I like kind of watch what I say even less now, because it's kind of like, why should I care what other people think anymore? It's too much energy
yeah,
to worry about what you think. So I'm just gonna say the shit that I want to say. So
yeah, like take it or leave it, right?
yeah.
Like
At
take
the
it or
same
leave. Go ahead.
at the same time, it was so funny. I was watching just last night. I was watching football with my husband, and I'm not that big of a sports fan, but there was some stupid play, and my husband's like screaming and yelling at the TV, and he like pokes me, and he's like, "Why aren't you reacting?" Because he thought I was sleeping. I said, "No, I'm not sleeping. I'm watching." And he's like, "Why didn't you react?" And I was like, "Because it's not worth my energy to get so upset about something that's happening on TV that's really not going to affect my life tomorrow or the next day." I'm like, that was entertaining. Yeah, that was a dumb move, but I can't expend any energy or effort on that. So,
Boom.
yeah,
Boom. Like we don't care. We're so
yeah,
conscious with the choices we make, which speaks to like something else that you've said in the past, which is like aging doesn't mean decline. So
yeah,
you are
no,
like radically pro aging.
yeah.
So, how are you guiding your patients in kind of thriving instead of like this narrative of like fighting time?
Yeah, you know what? It's with today's day and age, we have so many options where we can fight it, but I think that's also a personal choice. So I give
Mm.
people like, But I hate this attitude of like, I'm getting older, and
Mm.
people just accepting like, all right, well, I had a good run and then this is just going to be the way it
Boo.
is. And because I hear it, actually, it's another funny thing. I'll talk about my husband again. I'm older than him, but he's turning 50. And like the last month, it's all these little comments. I'm throwing him under the bus, but
Do it. It's
it's all these
okay.
little comments about like, oh, I'm an old man now. It's not the way it used to be. Even when it comes to sex,
Boo.
even when it comes to sex, like I just reclaimed my sex drive because I started doing some hormones and I'm like, woo, this is great. And he's like, oh, I'm 50. I'm going to be 50 now. I can't be doing this every day. And I'm like, why not? You
Keep
can.
up.
All of
Keep
us
up.
can be until the day we die, which is hopefully like in our 90s or even hundreds, the way we're all going
Yes.
nowadays. So I think and if you look at people, I mean, you can look around, like, there are people that can run circles around me that are in their 70s and 80s, and I want to be just like them. I mean, some of the favorite people I follow on social media, and of course, I can't remember this woman's name. She became a professional model for the first time in her 70s,
Mm.
and she's just absolutely beautiful. Then there's Sandra Scheinbaum, who's a friend of mine, and she's in her 70s and she's like doing crazy exercises and lifting weights and squatting. I don't think I've ever squatted in my life the amount of weight that she does. And I think it's all attitude. I think it's all in the brain. Like if you think you're old, then guess
Yes.
what? You're going to be old and your body's going to be old and things are going to fall apart. But if you are like, I believe in myself, I'm sexy, I'm
Mm.
confident, I'm
Mm.
just gonna like live my life, then you're gonna be sexy and confident like forever and ever and ever.
Agreed.
So because
Agreed.
I think the whole sexy thing too is big, and that sometimes women get really caught up in like, oh, I'm not gonna wear that bikini because my body's not bikini ready. And unfortunately, I've said that before, or they'll like I'm uncomfortable having sex with my partner because I don't like the way I look. Well, guess what? No one cares. And honestly, if you are confident enough, that's 10 times more sexy than,
Agreed.
somebody with a traditional like model body or whatever. I mean, because
Yeah,
you could
which
have
is like
two.
what percent of the fucking population at 50 plus has like a bikini ready body?
Yeah.
I just spent 2 weeks in Spain,
Oh, I love
and
Spain.
one of my friends is from Barcelona, and we island hopped. We spent basically the entire time naked. It was 4 women, and
Yeah.
it was so amazing. I mean, all of the beaches are basically nude beaches.
Yeah.
On half the beaches I wore a bottom, but I mean, on half the beaches I didn't.
Yeah.
And, I don't have a tucked up vulva. I don't have like the vulva of a 19-year-old girl. And my breasts are like tube socks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I breastfed 3 kids. So, but the power of walking down a beach naked with tube sock boobs and whatever vulva, and like whatever uncurated pubic hair was so liberating,
Oh,
so
yes.
empowering. It's like our culture, has fed us this narrative that we need to look a certain way, and it's very Western. And I mean, I'm sure it's global, but it's like hyper American.
Yeah.
And when you travel outside the country, I saw naked bodies all over the beaches in Spain, and I was like, damn, yes, like all of us just like out,
Yeah.
just doing it. And it shifts your brain chemistry.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You just think,
Definitely.
okay, well, we're just doing this. You can feel sexy. We were like rubbing body oil on each other, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Here it is. It's a state of mind.
I definitely, totally a state of mind. And I think more of us. I think I don't know. I wish my younger version of me had gotten there, but I definitely think in midlife there's something you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I'm so sick and tired of holding me back, like me
Yes.
expressing of me. So I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like, why the fuck not? Why the
exactly.
fuck not? So you've read something that you wrote about like how, HRT is like kind of like this band-aid thing. Everyone's like, oh, you'll fix your life by taking hormone replacement therapy. Now, I am on HRT. And in fact, I think you're associated with Winona. Is that correct?
I've done some work with them. Yeah.
You've done some work with them. So I'm, on their program, which has been amazing for me. And my libido is through the fucking roof. Thank you, God, or whoever else is up there. And it's not the holy grail.
Yes. You
So
know what?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you
Go ahead.
ask the question, then I'll get
No,
into
no,
it.
no, no, no. Go. Speak to that, because it's like almost like this band-aid. Everyone's like, oh, you just need to get on drugs. You just need to get on drugs. And there's so much more to that. And as a woman who has studied the science, the neurobiology of pleasure,
Yeah.
I know that just rubbing some cream on your body is not going to make you feel sexy or want to have sex or
Yeah.
feel better in your body. So can you speak to that?
Yeah. So I look at the HRT as more of a tool in our toolbox. And then the other thing I think what's happening with social media right now, you got the like hormone police that are like everybody should be on hormones. And then you have the other side of everyone's like group that people are like, no, why are we pushing hormones? So there's these two factions right now that are kind of crazy. But I say it's a personal decision, first of all.
Yeah.
So, we shouldn't be shaming, hormone shaming anybody on either side of that aisle, but it's a tool in our toolbox. It's not the magic pill. So this is where some people do really great on it. Some people, like, they're expecting it to kind of be this horny pill, and in some people you can have that effect, and some it doesn't, because we have to look at the stress. Because I've had many people who've come in to see me where they've been put on hormones from someone else, and they're like, I don't get it. My friend is on hormones and she loves it and she's having wild and crazy sex, and like I'm taking it and it's not doing anything. Well, then we need to go, all right, well, where's your stressor? Because stress and sex can't coexist. And in fact, we look at the chemical process of how those chemicals in the body are processed, they're on two different branches of the same process. So meaning that cholesterol, which unfortunately we often vilify cholesterol, but cholesterol is your parent hormone. And in a nice relaxed state, it'll come down and be made into your sex hormones. So into testosterone and progesterone and estrogen. But if there's any kind of stress, and stress looks like things like emotional stress, physical stress, I'll get into the stressors in a minute, but if there's any stress, the hormones are going to come down and they're going to go down and be made into cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And so they only has one or two choices to go down. And even those people that are taking hormones, if they're under stress, they'll back convert their hormones down into cortisol, because their body's like, I need the cortisol to keep myself alive, because that's the sympathetic nervous system. That system is meant to keep us alive, but it's only supposed to be short-lived, meaning like we were cave women and we're walking across a field and out jumps a lion. Our sympathetic nervous system was supposed to kick in because it's not the time to be having sex or digesting or healing, which happened. It's time to survive. So you would all of a sudden, all your blood flow would go into your muscles and you could run really fast, or you'll fight that lion or whatever. So everything would go into that and your reproductive system would be put on hold. But unfortunately, in today's day and age, those lions, those stressors are coming and staying there. It's supposed to be like literally very short-lived, and you go back to healing and digesting and sex and everything. But so now we're getting stuck in this stress mode, and it's really just eating away our hormones, and more hormones doesn't fix that problem. It just still feeds the stress issue. So really we got to go, where is the stressor, and fix that. And sometimes it's mental stress, jobs, finances, if you're a parent, kids, marriage. I mean, there's a laundry list of mental stressors that can happen. And then there's physical stressors, which are anywhere from not getting enough sleep. People are like, oh, let me do one more thing. Well, guess what? You're affecting your sex hormones when you need to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. So less than that, you're really raising your cortisol. Not drinking enough fluids. I mean, these are simple things that we take for granted, but not drinking enough fluids and trying to get decaffeinated fluids. It doesn't necessarily have to be water, but at least 10 cups, depending on your activity level and the heat. Yeah, they say 8, but that's really more like closer to 10. So 10, 8 ounces. So like 80 ounces of water a day. I know I don't drink enough. I always have to remind myself. And then, all right. And then food. our food, our diet can be incredibly inflammatory. So I always tell patients that your food should fall into 4 categories. Your food should at some point walked, swam, flew, or grew. And that's those are the categories.
Oh,
Because I said Twinkies don't grow on trees. There's no free range Doritos.
what about
So
Cheetos? Cheetos?
I know.
No,
But
no.
at the same time with the food, if you just eat healthy 80% of the time, you're on the right
Mm.
track. 20% of the time you got to enjoy yourself because you don't want to be too restrictive. So that can really do wonders for your stress level and inflammatory level. Other stressors are illness, disease, but a lot of those can come from those other lifestyle things. So, when we're looking at someone's hormonal health and perimenopause and menopause and beyond, or even their sex lives, and the hormones aren't working, well, maybe because we need to go affect something else to get those hormones to work better. The hormones are just a tool
Yeah.
if we're in alignment with who we are and what we need to be doing and not as stressed. So
Yeah, it's part of the picture, right? It's
yeah.
one thing in the toolbox, not the holy grail.
Yeah.
Now, I saw on your Instagram feed, and what really I was super interested in this was you were growing holy basil.
Oh yes.
So, I mean, it's so interesting because you're like a board certified physician and, trained in, the scalpel. And
Yes.
here you are on Instagram, sharing with us your medicinal herbs that you are growing to, I guess holy basil is to lower cortisol. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's one of them. It's really good. It's a really wonderful antioxidant and it's so sweet smelling. It's my first time growing it because let me tell you, every year I try to grow a garden. I'm really good at putting things in the ground. It's just beyond that, not so good. But this year I decided to do medicinal herbs. My favorite of all, which I did not get to grow, unfortunately, it did just, I don't think I had the right soil, was ashwagandha.
Oh,
Ashwagandha,
yeah.
I think they should put ashwagandha in the water,
Yeah,
like
so tell us
infuse it in there.
more. Tell me more about ashwagandha. I know it's a Ayurvedic herb.
Yeah, so it's really, came from Ayurvedic, the Indian based medicine system. It's what's called an adaptogen. So what I like about adaptogens is it adapts for what you need. So if your cortisol, for example, if your cortisol is too high because you're stressed, it'll help bring it down. If it's too
Mm,
low, it'll help bring it up. So it kind of is just this great balancer. So it's one of
mm.
my favorite herbs that I have people, use to help, with their hormones and help with hormone balance.
Wow. So ashwagandha, holy basil, anything else that you think is
Yeah, it's
worth
in fact,
mentioning?
I actually just dug up and moved in my turmeric, depending on tomatoes, depending
Yeah.
on how you pronounce it. That's a really great antioxidant. So that's also one of my favorites. Ginger is good, but ginger is more for digestive health. It can be a little bit for energy. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I like chamomile. Chamomile is
Mm.
nice and super easy to grow, but you just take the flowers off and then you have flowers for tea. So chamomile is a really nice for sleep and relaxation with tea. So and you can just go
Okay.
buy the tea. You don't have to go
Yeah,
grow any of
right.
this stuff.
For our earth mothers out there who want to grow chamomile for sure, or those of us who don't live in New England, I'm in New England, so I can grow things like a few months a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is so fascinating the way you're kind of blending, you know, deep science, medicine with some of these really accessible tools.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm getting more. I'm actually doing my integrative and medicine fellowship. I've always kind of practiced it, but I've kind of made it official. So I'm doing my fellowship right now with Dr. Weil. So Dr. Andrew Weil.
Oh
So I'm
no.
kind of like getting even more so. And I think the idea of plant medicine is just so fascinating. I mean, because everything we need is out there, someplace.
Yes.
There's reasons why the plants have these things, and
Yes.
taking advantage of that. In fact, interesting enough, and I haven't watched it yet, but there's a woman that I know that's in an organization that I'm in who just did a documentary on plant medicine because she had stage 4 breast cancer and somehow reversed it with plant medicine. And like my traditional medicine brain goes, stage 4 cancer, like we usually go, okay, that's it, call in your family, get hospice, like say your
Right.
goodbyes. So the fact that she was actually figured out a way to harness these plant medicines and the power of the plants and was able to reverse it. I'm still looking into that because I'm going, whoa, I need to know more about that.
That's crazy. And she's in your group with Dr. Weil, or
She's actually in a group that I'm in called Mindshare, which is a bunch of health and wellness entrepreneurs. Her last name is Payer, Payeur, I think. I'm
wow.
blanking out on her first name. It's
Incredible.
my menopause brain. I'll get you
Yeah.
a link to her documentary, so you could probably put it in the show notes.
Well, yeah, yeah. So, but what is so interesting is like how disconnected we are
Yeah.
from the earth, from
Oh yeah.
what is available to us right now. We make a beeline to the doctor's office to get a pill or a prescription
Yeah.
of, whatever lab formulated thing to fix us, heal us, fix the problem. And we have resources right around us that are very inexpensive.
One of the problems is traditional medicine. Listen, there's medicines and treatments that are good. There are just more tools in our toolbox. The
Yeah.
problem with traditional Western medicine is it's actually based at a triage wartime medicine. Meaning that if you're
Oh,
at war and you get your leg blown off, who cares about the root cause of your leg blown off? We don't really
right,
care about that. We need
right.
to stop that bleeding, give you something to deal with the symptoms of the pain, and take care of it. So that's how traditional Western medicine is we don't really care about the source of your illness or pain or dysfunction or whatever you're dealing with. We're just going to give you a pill that's going to cover up those symptoms. And then too often you see people, they're taking a medicine and now they're getting symptoms from that medicine. So now they're taking
Yeah.
another medicine to cover up the symptoms from
Yes.
the second medicine.
Yeah, I hear this a lot. I hear this a lot so often. Like this one messes with my gut, so I have to take this other one to fix my gut issues. Interesting story. My father has multiple myeloma, and he
Ooh.
is on a drug, and he was diagnosed 10 years ago. He's thriving really. But one of the ways he's not thriving is his gut.
Mm.
The medicine is just like ripping him wide open, and he's like very uncomfortable, and he's been dealing with this for years. And so this summer, I spend the summer with him. This summer I said, well, what kind of probiotic are you taking? Maybe you need to shift your probiotic. He said, what's a probiotic?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I said, what are you're not on a probiotic? He said, no, what is that? I said, Dad, like your doctors you should be on a probiotic. This is bacteria to help you heal your gut. He had no idea what I was talking about, and I was like, all right, let's, I know the one that my doctor gives me, you know take a picture of this, send it to your doctor just to make sure. And he's doing much better.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 and a half years of really, explosive, really uncomfortable stuff, like cancer free ish, as much as you can be with multiple myeloma. But like, and this is just simple, over the counter, natural fix
Oh,
that just
yeah.
no one offered him.
Here's the thing. I talk about how did we evolve? You always got to go back to like, how do we evolve? What were we supposed to be eating? Unfortunately, there wasn't refrigeration during cave people times, but
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people don't get rid of your refrigerators. There's a lot of food safety things, but we were probably eating a lot more bacteria back then.
Mm.
Now we were naturally kind of reseeding our gut with healthy bacteria through our diet
Mm.
because there was no refrigeration. So now with processed foods and foods that have extended shelf lives, and there's not a lot of healthy bacteria on
They're
foods.
sterile.
Even like our vegetables, like a vegetable from a garden is much healthier than a vegetable from the store, because the vegetable from the store has probably been irradiated, so they kill the bacteria on it so
Right.
that it won't rot quicker. But like when you're getting a vegetable from the garden, it also has soil bacteria on it. And so we would be getting that naturally in our system. So, I mean, there are ways to do it. Probiotics are one, getting more fermented foods into the diet.
Kimchi
So,
all the way.
yes, kimchi,
I'm like,
kombucha,
yeah,
yogurt if you can tolerate dairy, and kefir, and there's laundry
yeah,
list. And luckily, most of these are easily available in the supermarket.
yeah.
If you don't want to get into the fun, there is a fun hobby to try to make them yourself, but
I just had one of my girlfriends who's a potter make me a crock. A
nice.
fermentation crock. So it's
Yeah.
like waiting to be used. But yeah, I am like a fan of fermented foods. So like let's jump into the gut a little bit more, a little bit deeper, because I know this
Yeah.
is one of your specialties.
Yes.
So why is it one of your specialties? Why is it so important? What's happening in the gut? Like tell us everything.
Yeah, well, I kind of back connected it to like things with my patients, but I think the biggest aha moment was when I, at 41, had a full hysterectomy, everything taken out, started having these crazy menopausal symptoms, and I was, anxiety. I didn't really feel depressed, but they were telling me it was called depression. It was just, I was really bitchy and really
Yeah.
moody.
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, it's menopause, like here's some hormones, here's some antidepressants, and like, have a good life.
Good luck.
And it wasn't working. And then I was getting sick all the time, to the point where they sent me to an immunologist who told me I had this hereditary immune deficiency disorder that shows up when you're 40s. And I'm like, well, why would that show up now? Like, how do I get rid of it? And they're like, nah, you can't. And so as I kind of was taking care of my own health, one day a light bulb went off and I go, wait a minute, what does anxiety and depression and getting sick all the time have in common? And they actually have in common gut health, because 90% of your happy hormone, serotonin, is made in your gut. 80% of your immune
No
system is
way.
made in your gut. So I was like, all right. I mean, I probably could have just done it with food and, got myself better that way, which is probably the easier, cheaper way. But being the doctor that I am, I'm like, I need to test this. So I sent my stool off for a microbiome test. And the microbiome is basically the organisms that live in different areas of the body. And you can send a stool test off to see what kind of bacteria is in your own gut. And I found out that, yeah, things were shifted and they were off. And so I rebalanced it with a combination of herbs and to kind of kill the bad stuff, and then added probiotics and things like colostrum, which is really good at healing the lining of the gut. Glutamine is an amino acid that's good at healing the gut. So I used it with a combination of that. All of a sudden, I got off the antidepressants, didn't have any problems again after that, never had to go back on them. And then my immunologist goes, I have good news and bad news. The good news is your labs look all normal. The bad news is, she's like, I don't know why. And I'm like, well,
I do.
because I fixed my gut. Now, like I said, I'm not like encouraging everybody who's on antidepressants or antipsychotic medications to just get off your medicine and eat some like kombucha, because there are times when that they're appropriate. But I really want people just to start questioning their doctors, like, what are we treating here? Like, what is this medicine doing? And can we get to the deep root cause? Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we just don't know. Even with integrative and functional medicine, sometimes we can't really figure out like what really started the whole process. But if you're just on things that are Band-Aid medicines, then not that you don't need to take them, because sometimes we take them just to bridge the gap until we can figure out what's really going on. But to just be on something indefinitely without knowing why you're on it is, drives me crazy. I mean, my parents, unfortunately, are like this. I mean, they grew up in a time, I think really what did it in American culture specifically is the advent of penicillin, which is great. We need antibiotics, but it was like people were taught, you take a pill, it'll fix this. So then we became this basically this culture of, you have a problem, take a pill. You have a problem, take a pill. So like my mom has all these autoimmune issues, and I bought her a book. It was the book by Dr. Terry Walls. It's the Walls Protocol, where Dr. Walls had multiple sclerosis and reversed it through diet. And so my mom actually read the book and she goes, yeah, this is too much work to eat like this. I'd rather just take the pill, you know?
Oh,
So
it's
you
so
know,
interesting, this pill culture. So, when
yeah,
I was, you know, a mom with three little kids and running ragged, I went into my doctor's office for a yearly appointment. She said, "How are you?" I think my youngest was probably four. So I probably had like a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And I started to cry.
yeah,
And she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, I don't know. Like, I'm so tired. I'm so worn out. I don't know if my marriage is going to make, I was just in that phase of
yes,
life where you feel like you've got 79 balls in the air and, things aren't looking too good. And she immediately prescribed me an antidepressant. And I had a lot of shame
yeah, I
around
did
it
too. Yeah,
because I thought I should be able to figure this out. Like, I don't need to pop a pill. Yeah, but there was never a conversation. It was never like, let me connect you with a therapist, or even like, how are you taking care of yourself?
yeah,
All right. It was just like, take the Lexapro and, I'll see you, I'll check in 3 months if you need to up your dose, because this is the baby dose. And then we'll see you next year. And, that was it for about probably 5 years till I just said, I don't, I don't know why I'm, whether it bridged the gap in some moment in time in my life and motherhood. But I stopped and got serious about my own health and switched to a naturopath and did the gut thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I just needed to look at this from a different angle, really, rather than the band-aid fix. So it's nice to hear that you're part of the brigade that's doing things differently. So the women of the feminine rebellion are really curious about pleasure
yes.
and like sexuality and reclaiming that part of themselves at this stage of our lives. And I know you talk about like pelvic health, and I'm curious how like pelvic health and sexuality intersect, how you have this conversation and what you offer to your patients.
You know what? It's interesting because I've also done some lectures, different places I've spoken on the history of sex. And one of the
Hmm.
like themes that goes across like history is women have been suppressed for many years. And I
Hmm.
think there's this kind of
Millennia.
underlying fear of the power of our sexuality that I think we need to start reclaiming,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I mean, I probably should write a book about it, because there's so many examples of where we've been made to suppress it, and there is such power in it. And when you look at it like sexuality from an energetic standpoint, especially like when you look at chakras, the pelvic chakra, which is down, the sacral chakra down in the pelvis, is also the seat of creativity.
Yeah,
So that when we are using our body and are more sexual and sexually involved, this could actually help us with
it
solving
does.
problems. It
It does.
gives us confidence. It helps us solve
Yes.
problems. We would do better in business.
Yes.
I'm a spokesperson for a sex toy company, which I have to say that we don't call them sex toys anymore. They're
Huh?
intimate devices, because they've realized that using devices are also more, think of them as like your pelvic physical therapy, because I will tell
Yes.
you, if you don't use it, you do lose it.
Which
Like,
company do you work with?
it's one called Plus One.
Plus one. Okay.
Yeah, which I actually love. No, like cheap endorsement here, but what I like
No,
about their
that's great.
company is that they really are trying to bring these to the masses. Because if you looked at how much these devices cost in the past, sometimes they were, two, three, four, $500 for a vibrator. Where
Yeah.
they make theirs so readily available. Not only you can find them in like regular pharmacies, like chain pharmacies now, and they're typically under $50. And so I think their
Yeah.
lowest one is probably like $15 to $19, because not only do they want anybody to be able to buy them, but have more, you want to be able to try more than one.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And like, this is your physical health. And
yeah,
it's been shamed, it's been subjugated, it's been like, swept under the carpet. And I know personally, as reclaiming my sexuality, starting about 10 years ago, I mean, I am like on fire because of it. And,
Yeah.
I'm part of a group of women, we have one orgasm a day, at least,
Perfect.
you
Wonderful.
know,
I'm joining that club.
yeah, come on board. And,
Yeah.
it does, it boosts your creativity. I've done a little bit of research around, the prefrontal cortex and orgasm. Like, you do think more clearly, your executive functioning comes online.
And
It's a tool.
it's I have a friend who had a program too, and it was like something like more orgasms, more money. And she was able to connect that the more orgasms you had, the better you did in business.
It's true.
So I was like, huh, I like this. And
Yeah.
then even working with this other company myself, they've done research where they showed um that stimulation of the genitals, whether it's with a device or not,
Mhm.
um, 98% improvement in sleep, whether you
Huh.
orgasmed or not. Didn't matter whether you did or not. Then there was like 95% improvement in mood and like 93% improvement in like confidence. They had so many
Yeah.
numbers. You're like, okay, well, why wouldn't anybody do this all the time?
You can't have an
So
orgasm and be upset at the same time.
yeah, no, I mean, and you just,
Yeah.
during orgasm, your brain is being flooded. Like, it's like
Yes.
if we're going to go biohacking, I mean, this is like a
Yes.
great way to biohack and flood your brain with happy hormones.
It is.
So
Like,
I
quit
think I'd
the
rather do that
Lexapro
than
and
take an
have
anti.
exactly. Get a plus one.
Yeah.
That's my if I'm in bed at night and I can't sleep, I'm like, honey, I'm gonna have an orgasm. So
It's funny when after
you
they
can
showed me
join
that
me.
every time they showed me that study, I was like, okay, now I know what I just fixed my insomnia.
Exactly. It works. It's like it's magic, and it's like faster than a Xanax.
And from I realize that sometimes people get all hung up over the whole like masturbation, and like a lot of times we'll say self-pleasure, but even then people quote, it's a touchy subject, people get a little funny about it. But like, from I will tell you, as a doctor, from a purely physical standpoint, from gynecology, that is your physical therapy for your pelvis.
Mm.
Because every time you actually like become physically stimulated, that puts pressure on your blood vessels and it creates new blood vessels. So what happens is, this is what's going to keep the vagina healthy, young, functional, because especially menopause, we start getting retraction of the blood vessels, and that's adding to the
Oh,
tissue getting more easily irritated. It keeps
okay.
things in functional order. I know that then, like, sometimes I get people attack me on social media, especially when I'm talking more about the intimate devices. They'll say things about like, oh, I don't need one of those things, I have a man. And I'm like, well, then use it with your partner. Like, there's nothing
Yes.
that says like this is just for the single woman who doesn't have anybody in their life. This is for everybody. And you can be using them with your partner, you can be using them by yourself. But
Yeah.
if you want to keep things in working order, you got to use it. No joke, like, I will tell you, from a purely gynecologic standpoint, I've had patients who were divorced, didn't have partners, and were not using their vagina, and it will shrink to the point I can barely get a pinky in to examine.
You're
So
kidding.
it will shrink up if you don't use it. Like, it
Really?
has to be used.
That's a
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, it can close off.
I had no idea.
Yeah, more so in menopause. We can reverse it. We end up having to do like hormones to the area and sometimes dilators.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
if
I
you
use
don't use it, you will lose it.
yeah, that's fascinating. I know that, one of the reasons I use a tool called Taboo.
Okay.
Um, when I was, I don't know, maybe I found it 7, 8 years ago because I had some vaginal dryness, and I learned that, stimulating the vaginal walls, blood flow, all of
Yeah.
that was good. And I've gifted that tool to so many women because it worked wonders. It like revitalized my
Yeah.
vagina.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just, I mean, I think of orgasm, masturbation, all of that as kind of like brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
Like it's,
It should be. It should be.
yeah,
Everybody should be.
yeah,
Like,
it's medical care. I wouldn't go to bed without brushing my teeth. I'm not going to bed without an orgasm.
yeah.
So, maybe we
Yeah.
should up that to twice a day. If you're
Yeah. In
brushing your
fact,
teeth,
actually, do you know May is International Masturbation Month?
May is?
Yes, and it actually came out originally, it used to be just a day, and then they made it a month, but it actually was named that originally after Jocelyn Elders, who was she was a Surgeon General of the United States who lost her job because she suggested including masturbation in sex education.
And she lost her job. Wait, what year was this?
Oh God, it was oh God, I don't know. It's probably maybe 90s or so.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I know we are so backwards.
I mean, I think some of the fear that people think is like, I think, well, I mean, there's definitely the religious
Yeah.
teachings come into it, but then there's also sometimes partners' insecurities of like, if you're doing that, like, you don't need me. You're like, no,
No,
it's
honey, I want
everybody
it
should be
all.
doing it. Everybody should be
Yeah.
doing it. It should just be a normal part. Men, women,
Yes.
however you identify, you should be doing that because
Well, it's
it's for your pelvic
fun.
health.
Well, it's interesting because there seems to be like not a lot of shame around men doing it. I
Yeah,
mean, we know men do it, right? But
yeah,
like
yeah,
women aren't supposed to talk about it.
yeah.
It's supposed to be some kind of no, me never.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think women are not supposed to be sexual, especially once they're mothers.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And certainly not, at midlife or this, crone era. We're supposed to
Yeah.
just shrivel up, fade away.
I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but luckily I don't think any of my family members are going to listen to your podcast. But my husband's grandmother, when she passed away, she was in her 90s and we were helping
Mm,
clean out her room. And in a
mm.
drawer, I found some condoms. And I thought, okay, whatever. But then I just looked at the expiration date on the condoms and they were not very old. They were
Yeah.
still, and I was like, go granny, you
Yeah.
go.
So you have some rebels like in your family, even if it's, not a blood
Yeah.
relative. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is why we need to keep having these conversations. I'm having these conversations. I've got daughters who are 21 and 20 and a son who's 17. And I'm like, when they were 14, 15 years old, I started talking to them about, self-pleasure and sex and orgasm. And my older daughter, who was probably 15 at the time, asked about a vibrator. And I was like, oh, you want one? I'm like, do, 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 do. And in the mail came, a vibrator for each of my daughters. And actually it was kind of a joke because I bought three. I bought one for each of us, and it was the summertime. And they came in the mail to our summer cabin. And I said, okay, everyone to your own bedrooms. I was like, one for you, one for you, one for me. See you guys in an hour, and we can reconvene and talk about how that went.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, to have these conversations out in the open, with our friends, with our partners, with our children, it's so important.
I am like waiting to live in a world where we can just talk about this stuff and people don't get squeamish. Because like if
I
you're at
know.
a dinner party and you're like, oh man, I was, playing, I don't know, pickleball, which is really popular right now, and I
Yeah.
twisted my ankle, nobody would be like, oh my God, you twisted your ankle.
Your
But if
ankle?
you were like, oh my God, like I got a yeast infection the other day, people would like
You should
get
come
up
to
and leave.
a dinner party with me, Betsy.
Like that. Okay,
Conversations are a
I'm
little
in.
different. So, okay, before we wrap up, I mean, I think this is just like the very beginning of where we could go
Yeah.
together, and we're going to have you back. But
Yeah.
you released a rock album.
Yes.
I mean, please. I mean, please tell us more. I listened, but like, what is it about? You're
That's
a
my
doctor,
ADD kicking in.
uh, which is fucking brilliant. It's like,
Yeah. I was
play.
supposed to be studying, and then instead I'm like, all right, well, it actually started off as a joke between me and my friends because we were like, listen, why is all the rock music out there geared toward these young 20 somethings and like they're the only ones allowed to be sexy? Like, no, we're going to be sexy. Like, I think we should be getting like fine wine. We should be getting sexier and sexier the older we get.
Agreed.
So I'm like, we don't have any music to celebrate menopause. So it started off as a joke, and then next thing you know, we kind of like put this thing joined together and then got some people to sing. I don't, it's not me singing. Everyone thinks it's me, but I'm actually taking singing lessons, which I have later today so that I can get to that point.
Yay.
But yeah, I just helped produce it and write some of it. So we put out this album called Menopause Memo, and it's on Apple and Spotify and Pandora, anywhere you can find music.
It's
So
fucking awesome. And we will link to it in the show notes as well. But I mean, I was like, oh, I got to listen to this music. So, I can give Betsy like a live review on the call. And I was like in front of my mirror, like,
and honestly, and that was my first one that we produced. I actually, nobody knows about this, but I'm going to announce it on your show. We
yeah.
also ended up deciding to go a different way. We started just for fun, created a band called Life Fire, and we have 3
Ooh.
albums on that out there. But
Oh,
doesn't really have a theme. Some of them are angry chick songs, but
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. You
But
were
I
just
think
like
they get better and better as we go. I've actually been thinking, I'm like, oh, we probably should do another menopause one because that one's actually doing really well. So,
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Oh God. So very cool to have you, like the rebel Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, on the show today. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with today?
I think, the biggest thing is life is short and stop being polite. Enjoy yourself. Your body's built for pleasure. Enjoy it. It's healthy for you. Make sure you're doing it. Just really quick, have the pelvic floor store, which I will give you a code. It's going to be Rebellion will be the code for 10% off. So your listeners
Amazing.
you can check out we got lubes and we have supplements and we have vibrator or
Awesome.
intimate devices on that website. So, and then my
Fabulous.
other website is the International Pause Institute, but the website is pause, like menopause, but
Uh-huh.
PAUSE, pauseinstitute.com. And if you go there, there's actually a free hormone quiz that you can take to kind of get a general understanding of where you are with your hormones.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So good. And where are you practicing?
I am in New Jersey. I'm starting to get licensed in other states, but right now I'm currently licensed in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. So
Okay.
starting with those, but then we're going to hopefully be expanding over the
Come to
next year or
Boston.
so.
Come to
Ah, that
Move
would
up
be
to
great.
Massachusetts. All
Awesome.
right. Well,
You're
we
not too
will.
far away. I'll come visit.
Yeah, please do. Please do. All right. Such fun to have you here, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, Feminine Rebels. Oh my gosh, so fucking good. So much more in store. Love you madly and peace out.